Spoilers because spoilers. Jeez. Hello, awesome people on the internet. Welcome to another most epic video. It is with great pleasure that I announce we are in the glorious month of September.
Woohoo! Yeehaw! September!
Congratulations, September, for existing.
Huh, great. What do I win?
Nothing!
What?
Everybody get out!
God, I f***ing hate September. It really is the f***ing Thursday of the calendar. It's like all the good months are right there in front of you, but you still got one more pile of shit to trudge through. Ugh. Although my mom's birthday falls on that month, so it's not all bad, I guess. Love you, Mom. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is we're almost there. We're almost to my favorite month of the entire year. I guess. I haven't really made a ranking video for all the months in a year, so I can't really say for sure. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see that. Now, there are a lot of good things that happen when October comes around. You've got your costumes, your candy, and plenty of great movies. And there's one movie that I've been waiting for about 364 days now. It is, of course, VHS Halloween. Now, it's no secret that I love the VHS movies. Hell, my first and most successful ranking video is of each segment from the first 6 movies. Well, now that we've gotten 7, with an 8th just about to be on our doorstep, I think it's time I discuss my favorite movies just a bit more, by ranking them not as segments, but as overall movies. Boom! Ah, explosion noises! God, this is gonna look so good when I edit it. Now, in order to justify this, I can't just repeat the same things I said last time. I need to add something to the pile. Analyze more, movie quality things. Obviously, I'm still gonna talk about the quality of each segment. After all, they are what make up the movie's runtime. But there are also a few other things to consider. One thing, how well all of the segments fit with each other tonally and possibly thematically. And more importantly, the order. For weeks now, I've been rewatching the VHS movies, analyzing, reviewing, rewinding, then fast forwarding and rewinding again. You get it, because the VHS tapes and... Anyway, I finally realized that while having a consistent catalog of great segments is one thing, there is something else a VHS movie must master in order to become a great watch. A perfect segment order. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, most of the VHS movies seem to loosely abide by a certain code when it comes to how it fits its segments. And throughout the years, I've slowly picked up on it to the point where I can now fashion out a theoretical blueprint. Here's how a perfect VHS movie would fit its stories. We of course start with the wraparound, which will at first sell you on the basic setup of its story. Then, as the movie continues, we'll briefly return now and then between each segment, until it ends with a bang after the final one, leaving you after the movie with a frightening image stuck in your head. Then we have the first segment, which I will label the door opener. The door opener is usually a segment that is, while simple in concept, immaculate with great execution. It is mostly meant to set the bar and tone of the overall movie, but for some reason, they can't help but replay in your head as the film continues. Next, we have the second or third segments, depending on how many there are in the movie, which I will just call the yes and segments. This spot, or spots plural, is meant for the slow-paced, more experimental segments of the bunch. Once the wraparound and the door opener have ideally sold you on the concept, the yes ands will guide you through the movie, occasionally catching the eye of die-hard horror fans and being seen as slept-on gems in the franchise. We then of course have the second to last segment, which I will be calling the prime segment. The prime segment is usually the true meat of the movie. The one segment that usually has the most screen time out of the rest, and is either the most climactic, the most strongly written, or the one that just hits you in the feels the most. This one goes down as the most iconic part of the movie about 90% of the time. Then lastly, we have the final segment. This is usually where the more simpler segment goes, just something to add 1 or 2 more scares before the credits roll. Although sometimes, like the door opener, it just can't help but stick with you as you reach the end of the movie. Okay, so now that we've established all these rules I just made up, let us begin. Ladies and gentlemen, I humbly present to you all 7 VHS overall movies, ranked. Viral, viral, viral. You are still really shit. Oh boy, time to talk about the one movie that breaks about half of the rules I just went through the trouble of explaining. Yeah, that's right. Not only is every segment in this film a frustrating disappointment, but the order in which the segments go sucks so much. Dante the Great is an awful door opener. Thanks to its horrible abuse of the found footage format, it does not do a good job at showing the concept of the movie at all. I stand by most of what I've said about Dante before, although to be honest, it's not completely worthless. For one thing, I do think the few practical effects it uses are pretty good. The fireball effect was a nice touch that I should have brought up in my first video. For what it's worth, Dante is definitely not my least favorite segment ever anymore, so I guess that's something. If it was its own short film, it would be fine, I guess, but as a VHS segment, it does not belong here one bit. And it especially does not belong in the front of the line. Parallel monsters? More like parallel snooze fest. This is your prime segment. It's one of the most anticlimactic stories in the entire franchise. I didn't give a single shit about what's his face over here, especially because the situation he put himself was so easily avoidable. Not once during the confusion did he ever just try to explain to his doppelganger's wife that the machine worked. He just stared at her with a dumb look on his face like, I don't know. God, it was so frustrating. The second you saw whatever the fuck this is on the TV should have been the second you went running back to your actual wife. Why did you just sit there and do nothing? Motherfucking Bone Storm. It's surprisingly the best fitting segment order-wise. Yeah, it's got abysmal characters and acting and gore and cinematography, but as the final segment, it's just some dumb hijinks with skateboarders blowing up some cult skeletons. I can at least appreciate that it somewhat works as the final segment, even though it gets drowned out by the fucking dumpster fire that is Vicious Circles. God, if Viral's wraparound isn't a textbook example on how not to do a wraparound, then I don't know what is. It does a horrible job hooking you into the movie, is way too bloated with bullshit. What do you even call these? Like half segments? They make no sense, provide no value or scares, and do nothing but distract you from what is supposed to be the stars of the movie, the actual segments. A wraparound is not supposed to take you away from the segments. It's just supposed to be a small story you check up on in between stories. If it fills that role while simultaneously having a great story, then hey, that's awesome. But its main purpose is to provide a small interlude after each segment. That's it. If I were to try to fix VHS Viral's order in any way, I guess I would put Dante the Great in between the other two segments instead of first. It's definitely the most prime segment out of the bunch. Then I would probably cut like 60% of the wraparound segment. Like it just has so much useless filler in it, it's not even funny. Then get more money and have a fucking fourth segment go first. Like, come on, 3? What are we doing here? What is the economy bad? Don't answer that. The movie would probably still be pretty shit with these changes, don't get me wrong. But I think they would provide at least a stronger viewing experience or something. I don't know. Maybe they could have gotten that one segment they cut out at the last minute, Gorgeous Vortex, to be the door opener. Although that would probably make an even worse segment to go first than Dante, but then again, that's a whole nother can of worms. But yeah, VHS Viral is a terrible movie for more reasons than you think. And for that, it is and will probably remain to be the worst VHS movie in the entire franchise. 3.5 out of 10. Bye bye Viral, see you next year! Alright, time to talk about the movies I love. I should emphasize, to me, the rest of the movies we are about to talk about are, in my eyes, 10 out of 10 movie watching experiences. But for the sake of objectivity and the ranking system actually meaning something, I'm not going to be giving them a 10 out of 10 and try to give something a bit more unbiased. But I should emphasize, I am very biased. But I'll try not to be. But I am. Anyway, VHS 99 is an awesome movie. This movie is, from what I've seen, widely regarded as the second weakest VHS movie, and while I do technically agree, it is by a much narrower margin than most. This movie is so overhated, it is just crazy. Granted, this is by far the VHS movie that takes itself the least seriously, and I suppose I could see how that would turn most people away, but me, I'm not complaining. Especially because even the funnier segments have some of the most horrifying visuals in the franchise. Shredding involves the main characters literally getting torn apart by ghouls, then get reanimated and forced to perform while said ghouls film them. That's fucking horrifying. Suicide Bid is filled with suffocating claustrophobia scenes, akin to something like As Above, So Below. Ozzy's Dungeon has a guy crawl through poop. Okay, I didn't say they were all winners. Gawkers is hilarious, and yet somehow still filled with great foreshadowing, frightening visuals, and solid kills. Well, mostly solid kills. I don't know what the hell's happening here, but whatever. To Hell and Back, I will admit, is definitely the least scariest here by a mile. But it, at the very least, has some pretty horrific looking practical effects. As someone who grew up on those old goofy Goosebumps episodes, this genuinely feels like Goosebumps, but for adults. Its much lighter tone is, while vastly different from its other movies, such a breath of fresh air that provides a very fun viewing experience. As far as the order goes, it's quite solid. Shredding is a great door opener that does a perfect job establishing this movie's specific tone and style. Suicide Bid is a perfect example of a yes and segment, and say what you will about Ozzy's Dungeon, it is certainly experimental. The last two segments is where things get a little tricky. I don't mind To Hell and Back being last, it's probably the best fitting as the last segment. Although, with the way they put this segment in the front of their advertising, it really seemed like it would be the prime. I mean, the slogan to this movie is literally, VHS goes to hell. What else could that possibly be alluding to? Gawkers is a little complicated, seeing as it's both the wraparound and the prime segment, but surprisingly, it really excels in both roles. The stop motion segments are so fucking funny, man. They have slowly become my favorite part of this entire movie. Yet, they still have this subtle analog horror feeling to them, as if this is something we aren't supposed to be looking at. Objectively speaking, it's definitely not the strongest wraparound, but it is without a doubt my favorite. As for the actual segment portion of Gawkers, I don't think it necessarily works well as the prime segment, but I think out of the segments in 99, it does fit the best, if that makes sense. It doesn't have the longest screen time, but it does have a moderately well-written story and probably my favorite protagonist out of the entire movie. Like, come on, how can you not love these guys? Sure, the things they do are a little creepy, yeah, but they are just so goofy. And I think the dynamic between the cameraman and his little brother is brief, but well executed. Who all hasn't wanted to hang out with their older brother's cooler friends before? And that ending, man. Wow. Now, I have the brain power to determine that being turned to stone is probably not a good time. But God, they just make it sound so painful in this movie. The way Ethan Pogue screams in pure agony as he looks at his arms is genuine nightmare fuel. I reiterate, VHS 99 is very goofy, but it does have its fair share of terrifying moments. Watching this for the first time was one of the best viewing experiences of my entire life. It's definitely far from perfect, with a few segments going in some weird directions and others having just a bit too much filler. Like, I love Shredding to death, but did we really need to see Anker get pranked like 20 fucking times? Also, a lot of Gawkers is just kind of stuff, if you know what I mean. All in all, VHS 99 is not the best movie in the franchise, but it is far from the worst, and in my eyes, it goes down as the most underrated film in the entire franchise. I'm gonna give it a random number rating of, I don't know, 7.75 out of 10. Thank you, 99, for being you.
The 1980s code. They want their cell phones back.
VHS 85 is pretty cool. As the sixth movie in the franchise, I must say, 85 is without a doubt the most consistent movie out of all of them. There's just one small problem. This movie is consistently decent. All of the segments are overall a fun time, but most of them have things that bring it down one way or the other. Techno God is a very cool concept with an explosive finale, but it's way too short and practically stops right when it gets interesting. But thanks to it not overstaying its welcome and having a very realistic mood, I still find it to be a worthwhile segment. It's decent. Dreamkill is another great concept with striking visuals and a very disturbing use of gore, but it's way too long and has a finale that leaves a lot more to be desired. Regardless of its ending and slow pace, however, I still recommend it and can understand why some people view it as one of the best in the franchise. It's decent. God of Death is pure chaos incarnate and had so much potential to be one of the best in the franchise, but it ends up feeling a tad bit half-baked overall, with things just kinda happening and there not really being a sense of direction. Still, it has many scenes that I consider to be among the scariest of the movie, so I wouldn't sleep on it either. Again, it's a decent. The two main stars of 85 are without a doubt No Wake / Ambrosia and Total Copy. No Wake is such a clever subversion of the normal VHS format. While on a first watch, it can certainly lead you to some frustrating confusion, it really grows on you when you rewatch it, seeing all the subtle details, like the faint sounds of gunshots found in No Wake's beginning, and the blink and you'll miss it 7 tattoo towards the beginning of Ambrosia. The scene where everyone on the boat gets shot is probably the scariest scene in the entire movie. Just the way it goes from 0 to 100 in like 1 fucking second is so well done by Mike P. Nelson. Oh boy, Total Copy. If there's one segment that has grown on me the most since my first VHS video, it is without a doubt Total Copy. It's just so perfectly creepy and unsettling. It captures that analog horror feeling so well that it actually feels like a genuine tape from 1985. Like, that's how immersive it is. Rory as a creature is really creepy looking, no matter what form it takes. The gore is, while brief, just so fucking visceral. This lady gets her throat snapped so hard that blood just shoots out of her neck. That is so fucked. Jordan Belfi does an amazing job as Dr. Spratling. I can really feel that he genuinely saw him and Rory as a sort of E.T. situation, and felt sympathy for him whenever his delusion eventually led to his downfall. I will say that it's pretty dumb whenever Rory kills Gary towards the end, and Spratling's reaction is to just sort of walk away. Like, why would you not close the door in this situation? But then again, his hands were already covered in blood, so chances are it wouldn't have been able to close anyway, so it's not that big of a plot hole. All in all, VHS 85 has its fair share of entertaining segments, but does it work when it comes to its order? I guess. God of Death and Techno God definitely fit as yes and segments, no complaints there. And No Wake is definitely a fire door opener. But yeah, Dreamkill, without a doubt, should not have been the final segment of this movie. I really think putting your slowest segment in the last spot is probably the worst thing a VHS movie could do, because it really makes the final third of the movie feel much more sluggish. Dreamkill is objectively the prime segment of the movie, and should be put second to last instead of last. That way we end off with Ambrosia, a much shorter segment that I feel fits more as a final one. But as is, VHS 85 is a quite fun movie, and thanks to its consistent catalog, I'm hereby labeling it as the most rewatchable movie in the franchise. 8 out of 10. Oh, and it's got one banger of a credit song. Hit it, stock photo of a DJ! Here we are. We've made it to the film that started it all. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only VHS 1. Whoa. Yep, VHS 1 is our middle ground when it comes to movie quality, which is kind of poetic in a way. Just like how it has sequels, both better and worse, this movie has segments that are both amazing and, well, they tried. Amateur Night is still my all-time favorite segment, don't get me wrong, but when a movie's first segment is by far its best, well, it doesn't exactly bode well for the rest of the movie, does it? Not to say all the other segments are bad or anything. 103198 is a great segment with a hilarious group of characters and probably one of my favorite climaxes. The alternate ending where they all survive and just go, "Damn, crazy party," is so funny to me. That's the true ending in my eyes. The Sick Thing Yada 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 is a grimy segment that really gets under your skin, with quite possibly one of the most depressing endings of the series. Seriously, it really leaves such awful implications. Second Honeymoon is so fucking slow, dude. Holy shit. It's not a bad segment, to be clear. It is good, but man, it is hard to rewatch because you really are just sitting there waiting for the reveal to happen. The wraparound story is okay, I guess. Although, and it's weird I didn't mention this in my first video, I don't think this movie needed to open with a lady being assaulted in a sexual manner. Like, do you know how hard it is to introduce this franchise to new people when this is the opening scene to the first movie? Really, the main reason this movie is not top 3 is because it is just way too horny. It really makes some scenes just rough to get through, especially the wraparound. I thought tape 56 was more or less fine in my first video, but thinking more on it now and looking at how creative the wraparound stories have gotten since then, I now kind of find it a little dated. Besides that scene, it's not abhorrent, but it's definitely not what people remember this movie for. At its core, it does fulfill its purpose at being a wraparound story, but that's about it. Tuesday the 17th. It's pretty fun, I'll be honest. It still has all the problems I listed in my previous video, especially when it comes to that ending. I lose brain cells every time I watch Wendy literally walk into the killer's knife. But all of the characters not named Wendy are pretty funny, and to be fair, the actress playing Wendy did the best she could with the wonky material they gave her. So yeah, compared to the others, VHS is a bit more of a mixed bag when it comes to overall quality, but when it comes to how it orders its segments, I honestly don't mind it. Amateur Night is perfect as a door opener, not only for this movie, but for the entire franchise as a whole. It shows all of the greatest strengths this series has to offer. Great camera work, solidly human characters, and some truly terrifying monsters. Second Honeymoon and Tuesday the 17th, regardless of their quality, fit somewhat as yes-ands. Thick Thing isn't very climactic per se, but I think the amount of emotion it brings more or less justifies its place as the prime segment. 10/31/98 I think could honestly fit as a prime as well, but it still works as a final one. Overall, this is probably the one movie where the order is the most interchangeable, but as it is now, it's pretty good. So yeah, it's no secret that I love the first VHS movie. And while not all of it has exactly aged well, it still does a great job at entertaining its audience, as well as being the one that set the bar. I give VHS 1 an arbitrary number of 8.5 out of 10. A special thank you to our Lord and Savior Brad Miska for starting it all right here.
It's the 90s.
Guys, I gotta be honest. Ranking these last 3 VHS movies was insanely hard. It was like ranking my kids. These 3 movies are without a doubt the true cream of the crop. The real terrific trio. I should emphasize, all 3 of these movies had such a good shot at being at the #1 spot. They're each filled with great segments, terrifying monsters, and some of the most bone-chilling scenes I have ever watched. In order to continue this list, I had to get technical. I had to start nitpicking the most minute details I could possibly find. Until, eventually, finally, I had made my final decision. But trust me, these 3 movies are all separated by a fraction of a hair. If you disagree with the one I put at the top and think one of the other 2 should have been there, then that is an equally valid opinion. Now, without further ado, let's talk about VHS 94. This movie is truly a miracle from a franchise perspective. I'm not sure if any of you remember, but before this movie, there was a time when the franchise was just a simple trilogy. There was a time where we all believed that Viral would be the last entry in the series, and that it was incapable of ever returning. But then, Shudder came in like a knight in shining armor, and with the help of David Bruckner, it was brought back. And the rest is history. VHS 94 is so fucking scary, man. Holy shit. It is the pure embodiment of grimy found footage. Just the feel of this movie is so... I can't describe it, but it's done so well. It has arguably the most iconic segment in the entire franchise. Storm Drain alone is probably enough to put this movie near the top, with an iconic monster that is referenced regularly throughout the community. Hill Ratma. But even past Storm Drain, it has so much more. Empty Wake is a great slow burn with impressive practical effects and a crazy finale. Terror is a really fun ride that is filled with perfect acting and horrifying visuals, and also some occasional funny moments as well. The subject is decent. I'm sorry guys, this really just is not one of the best segments in the series. It's got some fun action, and that first half is genuinely horrifying, but it just suffers from inconsistent visuals and characters that make some pretty questionable decisions. It's not bad in any sense, it's just decent. I will say, despite my feelings for it, it definitely fits as a prime segment. In fact, this movie probably has the best order out of the entire franchise. Like, it's genuinely perfect. Storm Drain as a door opener? Perfect. Empty Wake as a yes and? Perfect. The subject as the prime? Oh, so perfect. Terror as the finale? Super duper, ultra fatalistically, perfect. This movie truly masters the order of a perfect VHS movie, and for that, it almost made the top. Alas, there are a few things that very, very slightly hold it down. The subject being not as good as people say is one thing, but oh boy, there is something this movie just does not do right. That is, of course, the wraparound. Look, I know I said earlier the wraparound is not meant to be the star of the movie, but man, this one was just so disappointing. You spend the whole movie going through these awesome set pieces, building up this awesome cult and stuff, but it all just feels so underwhelming when everything is revealed. Like, wow, the two girl cops just turn out to be evil and kill the main cop. Wow, oh no. It's like, what even is this? Are they even a cult, or do they just make...
Of bootleggers pushing that untouched, untouchable nastiest of the nasties, snuffing and fluffing cannibals, animals, girls in white suits, f***ing up.
That. What she said. Also, I didn't care that Slater was also in Terror for some reason. It really did nothing for me. In fact, I didn't even notice that it was Slater in Terror because he had like hair or something. All in all, this wraparound really makes this movie's ending a bit of a letdown, which is the main reason it's not at the top of the list. But regardless, this movie as a whole is an absolute banger. One that I cherish forever for resurrecting my favorite franchise. And for that noble act, I label thee the Golden Savior. 8.5 rat cryptids out of 10.
Hi, aliens. What the fuck?
Woo doggy, I love VHS Beyond. No pun intended. Yep, I am happy to announce that the most recent entry into this glorious franchise rivals some of the best content we have ever gotten. Just like 94, every segment is an absolute f***ing banger. Stork is filled to the brim with fun action and great creature designs. Dream Girl is a vibrant nightmare of a segment filled with Bollywood charm and eye-gouging horror. No pun intended. Live and Let Dive is an adrenaline-inducing rush filled with pure chaos and bone-chilling kills. Fur Babies is f***ing rough. Okay, that time the pun was intended. Stowaway is an ethereal, Twilight Zone-esque journey that ends with quite possibly one of the worst fates I've ever seen in a horror movie. The Wraparound. It's okay, I guess. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just sorta in the middle. At the very least, it doesn't have a woman getting molested, so that's good. And that last scene is pretty f***ing scary. As a whole, Beyond's wraparound ranges from mildly harmless to spooky in a devilishly weird way, which I can appreciate. It's truly an enigma as to how Beyond ended up being this good. This is the 7th f***ing movie we're talking about. 7! And it's almost the best one so far. That is so insane. I was so tempted to put it at the top and call it a day. But unfortunately, there is one minor issue that I have with it. When it comes to Beyond, I don't totally positively love the order. Stork and Dream Girl are placed perfectly as the door opener and first yes and segment respectively. But the other three, I mean, I love Fur Babies to death, but what the hell is it doing in the second to last bracket? It had yes and written all over it, and Stowaway has by far the biggest scale and strongest writing. It should absolutely have been the prime segment. Plus, these are by far the two slowest segments of the movie, and when they're the two last segments to watch, it can kind of make the third act of the movie feel like a bit of a trek. Live and Let Die as a yes and segment is fine, but I think it would have worked much better as a final segment, seeing how it is just 15 or so minutes of pure simple chaos. It would provide some sharp scares to lighten up the audience after the horrible implications of Stowaway. So if I had made VHS Beyond, I personally would have taken Live and Let Die out of the middle and put it in the back. That way it would be last, Fur Babies would be a yes and segment, and Stowaway would be the prime. But that's really just a minor nitpick. It doesn't really harm the movie too much. No matter what order you watch them, these segments are still amazing. One more thing, however, I feel like the majority of this movie is just a tad bit too clean when it comes to its cameras. Dreamgirl, I understand why. I mean, that's kind of the whole gimmick. You got like music video shots here and there. But I kind of wish some of the other segments were like, I don't know, 5% more grainy. Then again, maybe I'm just addicted to the grimy footage of the Years trilogy. But yeah, these two very small problems aside, this movie was beyond amazing. It truly cements the fact that even more than a decade later, with a completely different cast of filmmakers and actors, this franchise is still thriving as much as ever. Therefore, I'm labeling VHS Beyond as the new kid on the block, and keeping its score as a 9 out of 10. Real talk though, how the hell did this guy manage to break the door open in Fur Babies? Like, not only is that the worst form I've ever seen, but he's even got his hand over the part of the bat that's supposedly hitting the door. What? Yeah, VHS 2 is the best one, guys. I'm sorry. It is just such a uniquely terrifying movie. God, I wish I could go back to the day I watched this horrific masterpiece all those years ago. This movie does an inexplicably good job at making some very outlandish concepts look like they're happening in real life in real time. Now, that concept as a whole is sort of an aspect of every VHS movie. Well, almost. But here, it is amped up tenfold. From a guy simply filming his morning bike ride, to a group of knucklehead kids messing around with a doggy cam, this all feels like normal footage that just happened to capture these truly captivating events. Ride in the Park is such a good subversion of the zombie format. From its POV footage to its ending that did not need to get that emotional, it is easily one of the most memorable yes and segments. Slumber Party Alien Abduction is a remarkable alien segment with funny character moments and very scary alien designs. Phase 1 clinical trials is not very good. But that being said, some of the jump scares were well put. Adam Wingard still does a fairly decent job as the lead, and that uncle scene is still pretty funny, all things considered. And of course, we have to talk about the third segment in this one. Why, this segment was the very reason I came up with the order rubric in the first place. We are of course talking about the best Prime segment in the entire franchise, Safe Haven. I would be lying if I said that Safe Haven wasn't a major reason that I have VHS 2 in the #1 spot. It is just pure terror. Genuinely one of the scariest, bloodiest, most well-written pieces of horror I have ever been fortunate enough to see. The ending shot where Adam is simply looking forward while laughing, his brain completely broken from the events that transpired, is genuinely one of my favorite shots out of any movie ever. It is just a truly remarkable segment in a truly remarkable movie. And not only does this movie have some perfect segments, in perfect order mind you, but it also has such a good wraparound. Tape 49 is literally just tape 56, but better in every single possible way. It does such a better job at handling the whole characters watching the tapes shtick that I honestly think one of the reasons the wraparound started getting more creative is because they looked at this one and were basically like, yeah, no, that's perfect. Let's just do something else. But yeah, what more is there to say? VHS 2 is such an astonishing achievement in horror filmmaking. It has a perfect segment order, a great wraparound to help keep things together, and some insanely gnarly shit. And for that, I humbly declare VHS 2 to be the best movie in the franchise. For now, at least. I mean, for all we know, VHS Halloween could blow it out of the water. Oh hey, speaking of which... So, we've examined the VHS movies of our past, but now it's time to talk about the VHS movie of our future, VHS Halloween. As of time recording this, not only do we know the title of each segment, but we also have a trailer as well. And oh my god, it looks so horrifying. We've got creepy trick-or-treaters, killers in kooky costumes, and a fucking medieval executioner, I guess. Dude, this shot of the trailer actually stresses me out every time I see it. What the is happening to this lady? She actually looks like she's being microwaved alive. And now for the title of the segments, which I have right here in my tab that I must have deleted. Diet Phantasma. It's probably going to be about, you know, a diet that a ghost that has to take a diet because he's too fat. Fun size. You know, this guy's fun size means he's too fat. He's going to have to take the diet along with the ghost. Home haunt. The ghost stays at home because he's too fat and he has self-conscious issues. Kid print. I'll get back to that one. Ut supra sike infra, otherwise known as above, so below. Well, obviously, they're just gonna copy paste the entire as above, so below movie in the middle of VHS Halloween and call it a day. That's what I would do. Coochie coochie coo. That has to be a typo. It's very objectively Gucci Gucci goo. Like, right? Am I crazy? No one pronounces it with a C. What the hell is this? But yeah, like and subscribe and all that. And you know what? Let me get a little sentimental real quick. Shudder, if you're somehow watching this, I just want to say thank you. The VHS franchise is truly my favorite thing ever, and having the privilege to watch a new addition to the series every single year is just a literal dream come true. So really, thank you for resurrecting this franchise and elevating it to a point I didn't know was possible. I have loved every single sequel you have made so far and look forward to loving many more. Here's to VHS. Here's to Halloween. Here's to VHS Halloween. See you next time.